Thanks for coming in, you guys. Welcome. How's everybody? The weekend going? We all made it through the fire drill.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
So
Good
much
time.
fun during the atmosphere panel.
Ah, boo! I know.
I know.
I thought that's how they got away with not giving anything away. We're giving a giveaway now. Oh,
yeah.
darn.
Oh, it's out of our hands.
Please understand.
Conspiracy.
Seriously.
God.
Well, just to get things kicked off here, my name is Jack, and like it says Jack Rudo and friends. These three gentlemen here next to me, I put out Stapled Spine Horror Fanzine here in Portland. We are Oregon's first horror fanzine and third best. I don't know if there are other ones, I just like to say that. This is very lo-fi. We're not going to have any presentation or anything because, again, it's 2024 and I make a scissors and glue stick zine, so it's very, very analog. And I run a savage burn monthly on the UPS store in my neighborhood. Pay for 1,000 copies and probably do 10,000, but don't tell them that. I was at the, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Frankenstein Comic Swap here in Portland.
Yep.
It is the best. It is my favorite. It's like Christmas for me every year. I love it so much. And Sean, one of the producers and creator of this event, came up to my table when I was hawking zines. This would have been, when was the last one? December? It was in the winter, last winter.
Exactly.
What? Was it October? Yeah, it was last October. And he said, hey, we want to start doing more horror stuff. And I'm a super horror nerd that somehow keeps getting plugged into everything that happens in my beloved Horror Oregon. And I said, you bet, sure, let's do it. He goes, what do you want to do? Horror and video games. Man, like my experience with video games, literally like, dude, I played Final Fantasy like so many times, the first one, and like, that's it. But then I thought, like, oh shit, man, I was a bartender all over Portland, and pinball's big. Anyone here pinball head? You guys play? So many great horror pinballs. I was like, all right, yeah, we could do that. And so I reached out to my guys here, and they actually gamed. I was like, oh, okay, well, shit. So we're going to go down the line here, and we'll just introduce ourselves, and let's see, say who we are, what we've done with the zine, and whatever else you want. I'm Jack Rudo. I started doing fanzines back in '94, so I have Raged Against Machines and published zines. This Stapled Spine started in 2016, so we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. Depending on how burnt out I am, we can go almost monthly to 3 issues a year. So there's no rules, and the second it starts becoming a job, I don't want to do it anymore. Yes, so.
All right. Can you guys hear me? Pretty cool like that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm Zach. I cut hair, and I love all things spooky, whether that's music or film or games. I can't front, I'm not like a huge gamer. I mean, I have put over 1,000 hours in Minecraft, and that's different, right? That's its own thing. But I definitely, as a kid, was obsessed with a couple games and was forced into the horror world by watching my cousin play the first Resident Evil when I was like 7, and that just rocked my world. I couldn't believe that that was a thing. And I remember my cousin would make these stats up just out of his ass. Sorry, he's still here. But he, you know, as we're playing, he'd tell me this is true and tell me how strong zombies were and what they're capable of. And I remember just being terrified as a child. Safe nowhere was safe. And then those little demos came out on PS1, and I started, you know, playing through there. And Medieval caught my eye. Did any of you guys play that game growing up? That game was so sick. Rocked my world. Must have burnt that demo out. You know, must have ran it thin. Played that through that many times, and then I finally bought it. And from there, kind of got sucked into it. So played through Resident Evil 1, 4, and 5. 4 is probably my favorite, but 5 is so sick because of the couch co-op. I don't know, you guys Resident Evil, did you guys like those ones in Resident Evil, 4 or 5?
Oh yeah.
4, yeah. They were fun. Remember 4 was so scary, dude? That was like legitimately, immediately, it was, I don't know, I was terrified. And nothing beats a couch co-op. Anyone play Turok? I don't know if it's considered a horror game, but that game scared the shit out of me as a kid. Turok 2 specifically.
Yeah.
Dude, let's talk about it. That was horrifying. I don't know, so that one definitely fucked me a little bit. Fatal Frame. Does anyone remember that one?
Yay.
We're just doing introductions.
Oh shit! Well, no, it's on me. Okay, anyway, I'll get into it.
Zach's ready to go.
I just go for it.
We'll come
sorry.
back to it. You still want to get don't want you to blow your
I'll
wad
button
down,
it
brother.
You know that?
All right, sorry.
Hi, I'm Steven. I work at a local comic shop called Cosmic Monkey Comics. I'm really into horror comics. I've done zines also. I think I did my first one back in 1988, if that says anything about my age. And I just love the whole horror genre. And especially horror games, whether it's something fun like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, or even to something like, I'm really stuck on DayZ right now. And that one is a really, really fun one. So that's me.
That's you. My name is KD, and I'm originally from Atlanta, and I've lived in Portland about 8 years now. And I am not quite as old as these guys, but I do have a history of playing a lot of horror games. I'm really into, or I grew up playing point-and-click adventure games on PC. I'm really big into that still. I grew up playing FMV horror games on PC, which I'm a big fan of still. And yeah, I mean, I do like the newer action horror games like the Resident Evil 4, 5, 6, but I'm a bigger fan of the classic style of horror games. So PC games, FMVs, point-and-click adventure games, visual novels, things like that. So that's me.
Oh, yeah.
Apologies for my lateness. I'm slowly going to start late because the other camera ran late. So I spent time shopping, which I wasn't supposed to be doing. DJ Ambush here. Moved out here from Philly in 2016. I've been DJing for 32 years. Off and on, I've been a gamer. More of a collector and then gamer. Like I buy all these games I want to play and never make time to play them. But when it comes to horror, yeah, when you first mentioned the panel to me, I was like, yeah, there were games that I was playing when I was younger, like Sega Genesis days, that I didn't realize were horror games, and that's why I was attracted to them. So, really excited to be on this one.
I forgot to, you missed this, but we were also saying our birthdays.
Oh. I think you're lying about that, but today is indeed my birthday.
Oh, it's anybody's birthday today! And he's stuck hanging out with me.
When he asked me to do this, he was like, yeah, it's September 28th. I'm like, what? For my birthday? Yes, I would do this. Come talk about horror games on my birthday? What are you talking about? Yeah, absolutely.
So, here in Portland, obviously, repertory theater, comic shops, physical media it's not even any sort of oddity to us. I mean, obviously, it's a main vein for all of us. And for me, I spent a great number of years bartending in bars that don't exist anymore or are literally parking lots now. I will kick off, because at first I thought I wouldn't have anything to talk about. Then I started thinking about, like, man, I love horror pinball. And there was a bar in North Portland called the Jockey Club. And the Jockey Club was it was the grossest, most disgusting punker bar. They had Section 8 Wednesdays, which was a plastic pitcher of Pabst was $4.25 for a pitcher. There was something called Shit in a Purse Mondays, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the type of place that, you know those clips that you had that you put the individual little bags of chips on the wall, right? For the OLCC to make it so that you technically serve food. This place didn't have bags of chips. It was individually wrapped slices of American cheese hanging on the wall. And it had a sign, a black vinyl sign from Multnomah County that just said, it was black vinyl with red ink, so it was really ominous. And it said, this entire establishment is a smoking area. Well, now what it was like just one crappy room, and then like this weird little dog leg that had a booth, and a piano that always somehow got played by drunk people by midnight. But it also had 3 tables, pinball tables in the back. And one of them was the Coppola's Dracula table.
Yeah.
And if you've ever played that, it's one of those machines that will randomly make noises to remind you that it's there.
Yes.
Okay? But as you're closing the bar after a long shift, and it's like 3 in the morning, and from the back of the shitty little bar you hear, it is very unnerving. And but it also then makes you spend your quarters, which is fantastic. I just have a rundown of some of my, so that obviously the Addams Family. I mean that game
I
is
just got a high score on that.
rock on.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yesterday.
And just looking at the table, the art on it, I mean,
Yeah.
golly, is amazing. And then, has anyone here played the Twilight Zone pinball?
Yeah.
With the marble, that moves so fast. And then we had the Creature from the Black Lagoon pinball,
Yeah.
which is actually just about going to the drive-in. It's not really about the movie at all, which always kind of bummed me out, but still, it's Creature from the Black, you gotta play Creature. And then I would have to say, my favorite, of course, is getting the band back together in Monster Bash. Man, you play some Monster Bash, and I remember something about Monster Bash, I felt like I had known it earlier from as childhood, but there are pieces on Monster Bash on the table itself that are the same licensing and same mock-up as, I believe, the Burger King 92 Happy Meals or Carl's Jr. had Universal Monsters kids' toys. And the Dracula comes out of the coffin is what they use on the table for Monster Bash. So it's the crossover there as well. And of course now you can go online and see what these go for and what they sell for and refurbishing them and everything like that. But I am very excited to go out and find some pinball that's here today and see those there. I was talking to, not to name drop, but Andreas Subasati from Rue Morgue magazine, who's a personal hero of mine, is in town. We got to trick her into moving here. And she was going on about the list of the games that are here. So for me, horror and gaming, I don't know, it's so weird because it's not like these modern games where like you have the headphones on and you're in the dark, and some of the things I've seen, I sound like Grandpa get off my lawn, but I'm like, holy crap, you kids got some scary games, man. But the pinball, I don't know, it's like once you get in that zone, like the crazy flipper fingers, it's where it's at for me. So Zach, do you have any video games you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, let's go back into that. Sorry, I was just ready to go. Okay, so we talked about a couple that started in my earlier childhood. So we went over Medieval, Resident Evil 1, 4, 5, Turok 1 and 2, but number 2 I feel like is superior. That's just me. The Silent Hill games, those ones definitely. I had these friends. I grew up in these apartment complexes, and we had these friends who always had these games, and we were playing on the GameCube. And I remember they were like breeding hamsters. And I remember it was like we're supposed to be quiet. And I remember we're not supposed to wake up the dead, and we're like scared, and there's all these hamsters. We're playing Silent Hill. And I don't know why. I just still smell that when I think of that. Just hamsters everywhere. And, obviously the Left 4 Dead. I mean, how could you go wrong? When I was 19, 20, I lived with all my best friends. We'd have just huge LAN parties in the living room. We were so poor that like we had blankets set up in between us because that was our heater, which was like our own bodies. So we had our own little sections, and we had our own little TV, and we'd all play together and set up. I don't know what it was called. Was it Horde? When you'd set up and they'd just come after wave after wave. Yeah. And I have this one friend who, when he'd start drinking, he would turn. His name is Michael, but when he drinks, we'd call him Miguel because he's a different person. And we'd set up everything perfectly right. We had all the gas cans and the C4 set up perfectly so that we could fight these waves. And he'd wait for us to set it up, and he'd blow us all up. And he'd whisper something too. You'd hear him in the headset, and he would just he couldn't help it. Something took over. I remember just how mad as grown men we'd get at him over Left 4 Dead. Another great one was Dead Space. That one was rough to get through. I had a tag team that with my roommates. We'd once we got too scared, we'd have to hand it off. That one was next level. And what I've been playing recently, I just beat Mothered. I don't know if you guys have played that one yet.
Mother.
It's a little point and click, spooky. The mom is scary. I'm not that good at puzzle games. I get really frustrated when something is very specific. I tend to think it's more than that, and I spend 30 minutes looking for something when it's right in front of me, and I get frustrated with it. And so Mothered, I was a little frustrated because I would think too much into it and would walk all over the yard and house and looking for something when it was right in front of me. So I was pretty pissed. But I beat it, and it was wild. The soundtrack was sick. Whoever did that had some inspiration. And then I'm playing Beastmaker right now, and that game is really testing me. I don't know if you guys have played that one. You start off, it's your first day at a slaughterhouse, and the old guy who you're replacing is showing you around, ends up getting sucked into like this vent by like a pig monster. You have to like fight your way out. But it's you go into
That old
that old trick. But yeah, basically I don't know what it's called, but when you I don't know if it's a platform, but when you die, you start over. You know, all the way from the beginning.
Oh
and then,
yeah,
Yeah.
roguelike
Dude,
games.
yeah,
they're
terrible.
calling them, yeah, roguelike. Start off with no items and no weapons,
Yeah.
and every run is a fresh run.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of like that. How do you feel about that?
it really gets me going. It gets
Yeah,
me
I
really
like
excited, dude. I just have a hard time
I enjoy
finding things, and just like you walk, every step is so loud, and I just find myself stepping, going in circles, like where am I? And then I die and I start over. So I haven't beaten it yet. I'm pretty upset with it, but that's me. Also, Minecraft can be pretty scary. You know, those witches, dude, I don't know, man. Those witches, I'm telling you, have gotten in some scary situations in those caves. That's me in a nutshell.
What you got, Hager?
Let's see. I almost quit gaming when Resident Evil first came out, and I tried to learn how to go ahead and use the PlayStation controller with two thumbsticks going from the Nintendo. So that was my kind of introduction, moving into the latter part of gaming. I guess that's latter if you're my age. But luckily I didn't quit, and there's just, I just like the fact that there's so many different types of horror games that can fall into that category. I remember one that really scared me when I was playing. It was called Manhunt. When you were hiding in the shadows and these people were coming around trying to stalk and kill you, and all you could really do was just kind of hide. And I remember they'd be able to come up behind you and they'd be, hey, piggy, 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 and it would just literally just make me freeze. And I like being scared, and I think it's goes into whether it's movies or comics or anything like that. But then you also have games like Limbo, which I thought was a really, really fun game. The feel of it, I'm currently just trying to Alan Wake for the first time, which is a really, really fun game because I found Control really awesome. A lot of H.P. Lovecraft feel to that, and that was an amazing game. That kind of, I'd probably fallen out of gaming for a while, and Control really, really brought that in. Whether the mechanics and just the story that they created, this world was just fantastic. And I like the fact that they just dropped you right in there. And it's just like, you have to catch up to the game. And that was a really, really fun one. Like I said, the one I'm playing right now is DayZ. That's what, it just hit its 10th anniversary. They're still putting out content for it. And it's the roughest game I've ever played in my entire life. Zombie hordes, but of course, during any zombie apocalypse, the biggest thing to watch out for is other people. So you have to go ahead and scrounge and find stuff and work your way up. That's a really, really, really good one. And I played a lot of pinball. I remember Gorgar. There's just so much fun stuff out there as far as horror goes. And I just love that they just keep on going with it further and further. And luckily that I get to play them. Wish I had more time to play them, but adulting and all that fun stuff. So, yeah.
Oh, you're it?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was racking my brain trying to think when I got asked to be on the panel, like what was the first horror gaming experience that I had, and I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was, but it was either Maniac Mansion for PC or possibly Ghosts and Goblins, which we were on a road trip one time when I was about 8. And we stopped off at this general store so my dad could get cigarettes and everything. They had one arcade cabinet in there, so I asked for a quarter for it without even knowing what it was. And I went over to it and started playing it, and it was Ghosts and Goblins. And this was before I even had a Nintendo. This was probably 1988, maybe? And I just remember playing that and getting hit for the first time, and your armor flies off, and you're in your underwear. You know, and there's like ghosts and skeletons and all kinds of shit flying through the air. And I was like, this is incredible. You know, I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So eventually, at some point, I definitely got Maniac Mansion for the PC, and I guess that would be considered a horror game at this point. Someone mentioned, how some of these games have a lot of crossover into like different genres of games. Like, in my opinion, Castlevania is a horror series for sure. Like, Metroidvanias are their own thing now, and that kind of system of having to get a key or get access to a weapon before you can go further is now like a trope in a lot of different games. But the imagery that Castlevania uses, the music that they've always used, like that was really influential to me growing up. All the original 3 Castlevania games, and really all the stuff on GBA and Nintendo DS, Aria of Sorrow, Harmony of Dissonance, Circle of the Moon is huge. Symphony of the Night is one of my favorite games of all time. So I really love the Castlevania series. I grew up playing point and click adventure games and FMVs. One of my early favorite games for PC was called Phantasmagoria. It came out in 1995.
That was one of his first pieces for the zine too.
That might have been my first review.
It was your first.
Yeah.
You even had photos of your gaming setup.
Yeah, I still have my original copy of Phantasmagoria, all 7 CDs in the binder. I love it. I would never sell it. It's not worth anything, but I would never sell it. And like I mentioned in the article, I don't know if I could recommend in good conscience that people play that for the first time, like in 2024, because it doesn't probably hold up. I think the highest resolution it ran in was like 640 by 480, so like by today's standards, it probably looks pretty rough. But at the time, it was an interactive movie, an interactive horror movie, and they filmed the whole thing with green screen. If you don't know what FMV video games were or are, there is a resurgence. There's certain companies now that are doing it again, but they basically would take real actors and film them against a green screen, and then they would digitize all the environments, and then they would put the people in the environments. And as a kid, I think there was a store called CompUSA where I grew up, and they refused to sell it because there was some sketchy scenes in Phantasmagoria that they said that they didn't feel were family friendly. Which is ironic because that same year I bought a game from CompUSA called Gabriel Knight 2, The Beast Within, which was another Sierra game, and it was also an FMV game, but it was dealing with werewolves. Phantasmagoria was about a haunted house that kind of had, it was kind of like a living entity, I guess you could say. The person who lived there prior to this young family moving in was a magician or something in the early 1900s, and he had 7 wives that he murdered all of in brutal ways. And, so he's haunting the house and all of that good stuff. So that got me into those type of games. But I was always into the point-and-click adventures for PC. The woman, Jane Jensen, who directed Gabriel Knight 1 and 2, also worked on some other Sierra games like King's Quest 6 and Police Quest 3, The Kindred, which was also, I guess you could consider a horror game in its own way, because it kind of had like a serial killer and cult vibes and things of that nature. So that was some of the earlier stuff that I grew up playing. As I continued my gaming career, or whatever you want to call it, I got really into the first Resident Evil game, like he was saying, and I'm sure everybody else did too. That was my first actual jump scare, was from playing Resident Evil 1. And I was talking to my partner this morning about how it was a really different experience back then to play a survival horror game, because you were tethered to a 3-foot cord and you're playing on a 15-inch CRT, so you're like leaning in there and you're locked in, you know what I mean? And then when everything goes silent and then there's a loud noise, it scares the crap out of me, I literally pulled the cable. That was my first, maybe only, not rage quit, but scare quit, I guess, where I was so scared. So I'm sure everybody's played Resident Evil 1 and knows the part where the dogs come crashing through the glass plate windows or whatever. So I was really dialed in, and the thing crashed, and it scared the shit out of me, and I yanked the power cord, I threw the controller, I turned the TV off, and I just left, just furious. And I'm like, you wanted this. You did this to yourself, you played this on purpose, and I think the Resident Evil series holds up today. I mean, you can't really talk about horror games without talking about Resident Evil. And whether you like the direction of 4, 5, and 6 or not, I personally do. I also like the co-op. I have a brother who lives out of state, and it gave us a good excuse to get on and kill some zombies together. So I do like that action horror, I guess, rather than, what do they call it? Survival horror. But I like it all. I like it all. As far as the FMV games go, there is a bunch of people in the UK who are like kind of bringing the FMV games back. There's a company called Supermassive Games that makes, they make the Dark Pictures anthology series, which is amazing and highly recommended. There's another company called Wales Interactive that makes true FMV games, but they're more like interactive movies than video games. It's kind of just a choose your own adventure type of thing. But I don't know, there's a time and a place for that too. Sometimes I like to just kick back and play those games and just like, it's instead of picking up items, it's more of a thing where it's just like, you're watching people interact and then yes, no, and a timer, and you gotta hurry and pick something. So it kind of keeps you on your toes without, being too interactive. But so yeah, I highly recommend Supermassive Games. They're a newer developer out of the UK that's amazing. Wales Interactive is another UK developer that's amazing. They're a Welsh, obviously, developer, and they've made games like I Saw Black Clouds and Simulacra and a few others in the last 10 years that are really good. If you like Phantasmagoria and older FMV style games, I would definitely check out Supermassive, Wales Interactive, and a newer company called Interior Night that did a game called As Dusk Falls. Is really highly recommended too, if you ask me. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because it was kind of difficult to make the distinction of me actually playing horror games versus what I thought was like action games at the time. So like the first one, that as I look back on it, definitely Wolfenstein on PC, like most certainly. So when Doom happened, it was like, I know what this is, I played this. I'm a master of Wolfenstein, get out there. And then not really anything on Atari too much, no horror there, but Sega Genesis. Zero Tolerance. Zero Tolerance was the first time that I played a game and I was like, oh my God. Like, so it was reminiscent of both Doom and Wolfenstein. The aliens were just jumping from all over the place, but the score was really, really good. There was a lot of suspense, the footsteps. You had the radar that you were working with. It was kind of like the radar from the GPS off of Aliens, exactly. Exactly off the aliens. So you're watching them come and then they disappear. It's like, what's happening? And then wham. But yeah, Zero Tolerance is a game I would play like right now. And it was crazy because they give you so much of the game synopsis, and when you think you've won, you're at the halfway point. And it's like, oh no, now we have to go to space. Great, okay. You're going level to level. It's just, yeah. So Zero Tolerance was awesome. And it kind of whet my appetite for Nightmare Creatures on PlayStation 1. And then at that point, it was like, okay, so the backstory, the mythos is super important to me. Learning about Aleister Crowley, it was like, oh, this is a real person. You work this into the game. Yeah, and I grew up loving Monster Squad, so Nightmare Creatures is better work. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So after that, I kind of fell out of gaming, doing a lot of comic stuff, action figures, stuff like that. Once I jumped back into it on PS4 and 5, grabbed World War Z, definitely The Last of Us, and my daughter got me into that. She purchased it, and then I watched her play it. I was like, oh, this is, jeez, okay. And then I just recently replayed Death Stranding, which to me, I didn't think was a horror. But some of those, some of the flashback scenes and the war stuff that you got to do, it's definitely horror. It's definitely. But it was interesting watching people talk about the game and some YouTube content. I'm like, yeah, this is a top 3 of my horror. I'm like, this isn't horror. What are you talking about? You're running around in hills and mountaintops with your backpack. 80% of the game. But some of those other scenes is just unbelievably good. Yeah.
I just wanted to get a gauge of the room here. Is anyone here from outside of Portland? Okay. How about outside of Oregon?
Wow.
Oh wait, Vancouver is just 3 minutes away. What am I saying? Are you guys from Vancouver or Washington?
Seattle.
Seattle? Okay.
Yeah.
Illinois.
Excellent.
Nice.
And you're here in town for this specifically?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Seattle?
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Get out of here. We got to keep the rivalry alive. And who else? We got any other? Where are you from?
Eastern Washington.
Eastern Washington? Pennsylvania, did I hear that?
Pennsylvania, nice.
Ooh, that's the spookiest sounding state, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
How about you didn't hear, is there something that, god damn, sorry. What are you playing that we didn't mention? I'd like to hear from the crowd here, because as a fanzine, like, we want to know what else is going on out there. I am woefully submerged in the horror comic scene, but I don't know a dink about horror games. So someone want to chime in with what they're playing now? Go ahead.
Clive Arby's Undying.
Yeah.
Yeah? What's that on? Is that a PC game?
Yes, PC game.
Okay.
And you're basically a guy who moves into this mansion or whatever to investigate this family murder, whatever. They're all supernatural ghosts and goblins, and it just a bunch of like different days going on. It's just pretty scary.
And it's got Barker's name on it, like
Yes.
he's produced it or whatnot? Excellent,
Nice.
that's awesome. That's what I'll put that on the list, that's fantastic. What else we got out
Actual
there?
movie tie-in.
Yeah.
That's good.
I got a friend of mine who's a pixel artist that just came out with Devil's Hideout. It's very good. It's a point-and-click adventure game. It's beautiful,
Oh.
and it's spooky as heck, and jump scares, and it's awesome.
Jump scares.
Also, I represent Jane and Robert Holmes and James Jensen. So
Wow,
I'm wearing my
really?
Gabriel Knight shirt.
Wow, wow.
There we go, okay.
I love it, I love it.
Boo, Seattle though.
No, I stand by that.
I did not boo Seattle.
Get
and
bent.
I love it.
Yeah, we just had an adventure game convention.
Wow, fantastic. Well, pleasure to meet you.
Haunted PS1 demo disc. Anybody know about that?
I've heard of it.
So it's an indie project, a bunch of different indie game developers making demos like that are based on like PlayStation 1 like horror games, like Silent Hill,
Nice.
Resident Evil, Medieval, stuff like that. So they all have a low poly aesthetic, really creepy stuff. Some of them are like some of the creepiest things I've ever played. There's one where it's like you're a little Japanese girl like coming home from school and it's at dusk, and then these shadow monsters come out of the background because it's like a kind of like Resident Evil where it's like the photorealistic backgrounds, the
Right.
red ones. So you're walking around. She has no like weapons or anything. She's just a little kid. And these shadow monsters come out, and you have to like hide from them. And oh, it's super creepy. Yeah, PS1 demo disc. Look that up. There's been a few of them now.
That's cool, right on. Anybody else? Yes.
Definitely a fan of the Obscure series on the PS2. First and the second one.
I'm not familiar with that.
Obscure.
The first
It's
one
a-
pretty much.
I'm not making an obscure joke, I honestly.
No, I'm not either. I thought I was pretty well versed in PS2, but I don't know anything about it. No.
Geez, I wasn't expecting there to be so many non-Oregonians here. I wasn't. If you could have, going into the future of gaming, what do you feel would really bring a resurgence of horror games back? Does anyone have any idea of like what you would want to see in a horror game? Yeah.
I'd say embrace limitations and the unknown.
Mhm.
Like the less, the better. Like leave things to the imagination of the player versus showing everything.
I agree. Yeah.
Everybody's so
absolutely.
graphically like obsessed. It's like, but less is more a lot of times, especially
Sure.
with horror. Like
Of course.
just hint at things.
Yeah.
Have things in the shadows. Don't show what it is. Like have
Always.
sounds.
It's always
coming.
worse up here, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think that was a big part of why the first Silent Hill game was so successful,
Yeah.
is they embraced the limitations of the system and they used that fog so well.
Yeah.
You know,
More,
just
more,
never knowing.
more narrative and psychological, and
Yeah,
and minimalist, and yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes.
Personally, I feel like sometimes a lot of horror games nowadays wear out their welcome. They make it too long. By the time you get to a certain point in the game, you're like, I've already done this, I felt this. There's no new added. I would recommend if you guys haven't played them, like Charizard games or Puppet Combo games. They're cheap, short experiences. They're great. Charizard's like an Asian developer, and it's about like living in Asian culture and weird stuff that goes on, which
Yeah.
I think is cool. Then Puppet Combo makes games that are very much like Silent Hill 1 or Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, where it's like PS1 style horror. They're short, they only take maybe 4 hours, 5 hours at most to finish. And I feel like in that time frame, it's like you feel horror like the whole time, and by the time you're done, you're like, oh, that's perfect.
Right. Yeah. You just want. Yeah. Because if it's too long, it's just exhausted. I mean.
It's true. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I don't mind a short game. I think there's a lot of replay value in a lot of the newer games. Just like some people don't love like trophies and achievements. I personally think it's kind of cool because it gives you an opportunity to go back in some of these shorter games and then get another perspective on like whatever the quest lines were that you didn't want to follow the first time, you know, to get the achievements, you can go back through and play it again. Like some of the newer FMV games, like the ones I was mentioning before, I played like 3 or 4 playthroughs just to get all the stuff. And even then, you're only talking about like maybe a 20-hour experience. But you know, when you're playing a 4-hour game and you blast right through it, sometimes you're thinking about it the next day and you're like, damn, I'd like to do that again. You know what I mean? Or like, I wish I would have told that girl to go F herself instead of saying, I'll help you find your dog, or whatever the quest is, you know, and you can go back and figure it out, you know, try another way.
What's up?
Go ahead, yeah.
Is it okay if I mention a couple of different ones? So
We're open, man.
One of my favorite
They
ones.
gave us the table. I don't even know what we're doing here. Hell, go for it.
One of my favorite ones is it's called The Last Door. It's actually a point-and-click adventure game with like kind of pixel art and then like kind of more modern effects for like lighting. It's very strong narrative, very inspired by like Edgar Allan Poe and like Lovecraft.
10 out of 10 on Steam, by the way. The last
Yeah, no.
Perfect 10.
So atmosphere to me is very important in horror, and it does amazing with that. I feel like a huge boon for horror is sound design, and that sound design is like absolutely like the best. The music, the sound effects, when there's sound, when there isn't sound, it's almost cinematic.
Yeah.
I feel like the people who made it like must have been known how to make movies.
Film
'cause,
directors.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's a cliche to say it now, but immersion goes so far with a horror game,
It's
or
film, but
anything.
it's a pixel art game. It's,
Okay.
it's a brilliant game.
And another one that did that really well is I'm blinking because I'm talking.
You're doing great.
Thanks. The one that like it's short. It's got another adventure game where it's like there's platforming, there's stealth into it. It blends a lot of genres together. Little Nightmares.
Oh, Little Nightmares.
Okay.
And the sequel was also very good, but it's also very cinematic, visual style, does excellent sound design, and I love seeing that
Yeah.
because it's such an immersive experience. It mixes up the gameplay where it doesn't get old.
Right.
It just does it all so well, and is visually very stylistic too. And then my third one, also,
No.
it's reverse horror. It is called Carrion, where you are the monster.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like got gorgeous pixel graphics that like have amazing like fluid animations, and you're this awful, gruesome tentacle meat monster creature, and you eat people and you get bigger, and you're trying to escape this facility that has kept you contained. And I would love more of that. I would love more games where you are the monster.
Yeah.
Also, short games, we don't have time.
Yeah, all the ones
short
I
games
mentioned
would be
are
on.
like maybe
I mean, who didn't love
6
playing Rampage and
hours
eating
max.
people and punching
Yeah,
those
Rampage.
guys, right? That was fantastic, man. Nothing beats Rampage. That was fantastic. I mean, it's the same thing over and over, but dude, eating people and spitting fire is great.
That's why I'm more of a movie guy. Like hour and a half is a great like amount of time for me.
Agreed. Agreed. Bring back hour-and-a-half movies. Enough of this nonsense.
That too, yeah.
Hour and a half.
Game.
Hour and a half. In and
I
out.
mean,
3 hours too long. I'm sure it's good. I don't have the patience
well,
for it.
Cholazar
Yeah.
got brought up. Convenience store is one I would recommend.
Convenience.
It's a lot of like PS1 graphics, like super low budget kind of. But like a lot of the aesthetic it's got like a lot of this like CRT and like video store kind of stuff. So I feel like that length like brings in like the movie kind of people. So I feel like that's kind of smart to like have a lot of that kind of stuff like CRT puzzles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are into horror movies would like a lot more video games than they realize. Like the whole Silent Hill franchise is inspired by Jacob's Ladder, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like if you're a fan of the movie Jacob's Ladder, you should definitely play all of the Silent Hill games for sure. I mean, a lot of those visuals are in there. I know like the Clock Tower series was really heavily influenced by Argento and Suspiria in general. And I don't think they're still making Clock Tower games, but the older Clock Tower games were really inspired by Suspiria and Argento. And, you know,
Literally phenomenon. Oh, we were just saying it's literally phenomenon.
Yeah.
right, yeah, exactly. So yeah, there is
We're
a lot.
Argento fans too.
Awesome, yeah, you guys are all right. What hotel are you staying at? We go party later. You seem really cool. We'll play some point and click adventure games. What's that?
I'll come up and give you a business card.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And I want to check out your Gabriel Knight shirt too. I'm really impressed. But no, yeah, Clock Tower, Argento. I'm trying to think what else. Silent Hill is definitely Jacob's Ladder. I mean, I don't know. You got games like Splatterhouse. That was obviously a Friday the 13th reference, and you know, probably some Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff in there. I was actually just playing the new Dominus collection, Castlevania collection that just came out like a week or two ago, and I was replaying Order of Ecclesia, and there's every horror trope that you can imagine in there. There's Frankenstein, there's the Wolfman, there's Dracula, there's Medusa. If you can name it from like a classic horror movie, it's packed into Castlevania somewhere. You know, but I can't really think of any other direct links from movies to video games.
We got
off the top.
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which I thought was
The game.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the new one or like the Atari game?
Oh, that's a great question. What are some terrible horror games that you really wanted to be good, guys?
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I wanted to bring up
That's
Flux.
awesome.
Dude, Dead Island.
Yeah.
That game, dude, I was
Yeah,
so
let's some shit on some
fucking
games.
I think that was the biggest letdown of all of my gaming life is Dead Island.
Dead Island.
Waited for a
Are
year.
you talking about the first one or the third one?
The first one, I didn't even give it, they're dead to me. Like, literally, I was so excited.
He said
The
good
third
day.
one bored me, but the first two,
Dude,
I played the shit out of that.
I don't know, dude. I was just so let down. Couldn't get anything to
Fans
work.
disagree.
Couldn't get anyone to play together. Same thing with the Chainsaw Massacre game. Like, why do we need to be online? Why does it need to be so
Those games
expansive?
stress me out. There's like 2 or 3 games that are pretty much the same as that concept, where you pick one side or the other, and then everybody has to shit themselves trying to get out in time. Those make me nervous. Like not in a good, scary way, but like in an anxiety kind of way. Like, they have to work.
It's really funny you say Dead Island because the first thing I think of is Island of the Dead. It was a PC game.
Island of the Dead.
And that game sucks, but
Yeah.
I remember the cover, like the zombie head coming out of the water, like it's like a volcano.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Yeah.
Like on CompUSA or Good Guys. But the
Yeah.
game itself is like they wanted to be a 3D like first-person shooter, but they don't know how to make a first-person shooter. It's
Well,
so
as
bad.
horror fans, we're so used to the cover breaking our hearts over and over and over
Yes,
again.
100%.
And it's like, whatever.
Thanks, Wizard Video.
Well, we were getting the sign to wrap it up. I'm honestly, sincerely grateful for you guys coming in here and listening to us talk about horror video games. Thanks.
Thanks.
I don't know what to say other than that. We're tomorrow, where the VHS swap is happening for Movie Madness, we're going to be having the Stapled Spine Sinister swap, which is all different local spooky and regional spooky vendors. We'll have the new issue of the zine available tomorrow. So if you're going to be here tomorrow, we'd love to see you over there. We'll be doing that from 11 to 5. Here in Portland, Stapled Spine can be found in 5 comic shops, 3 bookstores, and a hair salon. So, and we're also online on Instagram, Stapled Spine.
And some vending machines, I think, it's floating around.
Yeah.
And some vending machines.
And, you know, any door that I could throw them into in my neighborhood in North Portland. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks, guys.
And that's how I pathetically wrap this up.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and here are a few more videos for you to check out.